AES member countries have finally and officially started with the mass issuance of their Young Alliance Passport. Ladies and gentlemen, mass printing started last week. The decision directly implies one statement to AU and ECOWAS. It simply means they have dumped ECOWAS passport in West Africa for good and they are not looking back. Ladies and gentlemen, the new AES passport has so far been issued to over 102,000 citizens from the three countries. It was launched in January this year, and its first recipient was Captain Ibrahim Traore himself, and it complies with all of the International Civil Aviation Organization standards. In April 2025, reports indicated that the AES passport had been officially recognized by some Schengen area countries, even though in February of this same year, other reports emerged, especially from Bamako in Mali, that holders of the new AES passport were facing visa application refusals at the French consulate. But ladies and gentlemen, as it stands now, they are already accepted by most African countries, but are yet to be fully accepted beyond our continent. The US government, for instance, is also yet to endorse the passport, and so is France, obviously. But every indication shows that they wouldn't have an issue in the coming months. From the onset, ladies and gentlemen, challenges of their passport endorsement was expected, but that in no way has deterred the group from pursuing what is politically and economically right for them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what applied force looks like when persuasion fails. This is unprecedented coming from Africa, and we are witnessing it in real time as a bloc of African nations hold their grounds against world powers to secure their spot in diplomatic matters. This move, ladies and gentlemen, when successful, will establish a potential new pathway for all African countries. I'm Cyrus, and this is Tuntum Network in Accra, Ghana. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for more of my videos. There is more to it, so let's dig deeper.
Africa Funder is a website which enables you to raise funds from people in the diaspora in order to assist with the completion of projects that would help to foster the growth and development of the continent. Raise funds for a range of diverse projects, whether it be for schools, classroom remodeling, healthcare services, or the next unicorn technology company. Sign up now and allow us to begin this journey together.
Diplomacy is a good thing and must always be a preferred choice. But when dealing with certain people and in certain sticky situations, diplomacy sometimes can become a setback to achieving results in both in the short and long term. The structure of the world as it is constituted now favors countries in certain demographics above others. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that in order for a country from our part of the world to be recognized in anything that we do, we need the West or a Western institution to provide us with validation? This is a fact. This is when diplomacy can be excused, in my opinion. This happens to us in every single strategic aspect of our world. Even when it comes to herbal medicine, the West will make you depend on them for standardization. Even when history has proven that our forefathers depended on the herbs for long life and in good health. They standardize our foods, medicine, machines, financial systems, and even healthcare systems. Ladies and gentlemen, this makes the legitimacy of our potency a byproduct of another man's prerogative. This is where the imbalance is. What the AES is doing goes against this deliberately instituted international status quo. The AES is showing Africa and the rest of the world what it means to break out of a regiment that isn't in your favor by any means necessary. In simple terms, the actions of the AES is comparable to starting a revolution journey that goes against all odds and being prepared to take it all the way to the end in spite of all the hurdles, ladies and gentlemen. And this precedent is a threat to every establishment for this one reason. It can be contagious. The fact that the whole world is watching to see the outcome of what will happen is what scares the powers that be. Because once the AES is successful in their approach to their political and diplomatic freedoms, it becomes a reference point to other countries. This can be very contagious. And this is why, as Africans who have suffered the oppression of the West for these number of decades, we ought to support them to succeed, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having said all that I have said, there are 3 questions I want to ask and hear your opinion on. What do you think will be the implication of the success story of the AES on France, EU, and Africa? Think about it critically as I repeat my question. What kind of message do you think the success story of the alliance of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger will send to France, EU, and Africa, especially to ECOWAS? In terms of economics and geopolitics, what will be the ultimate message behind their breakaway and their success of their alliance? Or in simple words, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of lesson should their success teach us Africans or incite the rest of Africa and the world? This is my first question to you, and I'd love to read your opinion in the comment section. My second question goes like this. How do you think EU member states will view AES passport holders? I do not mean the passport per se, but the passport holders from these 3 countries as compared to how they will view passport holders from ECOWAS or from any African country in terms of resilience, national pride, and diplomatic acceptance. And I hope you understand the question, ladies and gentlemen. How will the rest of the world see people who hold a passport with AES on it in terms of their national pride and resilience as compared to the rest of Africans who uses our usual passport? In fact, you and I as Africans, how will we see passport holders from the AES nations? Will they come off as more resilient people than the rest of us? What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Your opinion in the comments will be highly appreciated. Then my third and final question. Is there a realistic likelihood that in the nearest future there arises another group of African countries who do something similar to what AES has done? Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. The fact that these 3 African countries have so far succeeded in getting an alliance charter passed, getting a new common passport issued, and pursuing a mutual economic and military mission is a testament to the fact that these so-called Western powers are defeatable. Therefore, will the success of these nations trigger anything similar in any part of Africa moving forward? That is my question. Are we likely to see smaller blocks of African countries with similar circumstances and interests join forces to pursue an agenda that's mutually beneficial, ladies and gentlemen? We see the posture of the president of Botswana speaking with similar audacity, and so is the president of Tanzania. Is this going to continue until another group breaks off, or will it be a flash in a pan? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to state this emphatically to you, that the West is surmountable. Their system is failing. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger will survive. And when they do, we ought to think differently. We won't be given the kind of freedom we want without a fight. And hence, we need to change our approach, ladies and gentlemen. Africa can either work under the big umbrella of the AU, or it can work in blocks. Whichever way it goes, it must work. The AES passport is legitimate and must be endorsed. They are a real force to contend with. Don't be surprised to see their currency in the near future. It's about damn time to break away from the West and pursue what's in our interest as African people. A passport and a central bank with a currency, a common economy, and military is all they need, and we hope to see them succeed. Let's hear from you, your opinion on this matter in the comment section. I'll come your way again with another one very soon. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell if today is your first time. I'll see you in the next one. God